Okay, I thought it'd be kind of cool to do some chess puzzles and stuff for a little video here. I don't know, maybe for about 10 minutes or so. I was playing some chess a couple nights ago with some church friends and stuff, and it was really, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Um, and I always like to encourage people to play chess more. It's such a great game. It's just a fun game. And so you know, I'm trying to show some folks a few things, and when they're playing chess, how to get better at it. That's one of the things that gets people like who don't want to play it, because there's a lot of stuff that goes to chess, and it's a very multi-layered game with a lot of rules and stuff, and well, not a lot of rules, but it's a lot of principles, you might say. And so, how do you get better at chess? Like that's one of the things that discourages people from playing it is just how do you get better at it? And one of the ways that I got better at chess was to play puzzles. There's just endless puzzles. You can just play them all day long if you want to. And puzzles teach you how to calculate. The idea behind puzzles is to find the best move. Um, and puzzles are all about tactics. Tactics are like I saw someone say tactics are like 99% of chess, and they are very important. And so what we're going to do is we're going to play chess, and again, it's all about tactics, and it's as we play these puzzles, as we find the best moves here. So we're playing as white here in this puzzle. Black just moved to ups. He moved to bishop to c6, hitting our bishop right here. All right, so what we want to do is you have to find the best move. If you miss the best move, you have to do it over again. Excuse me. So when you're playing chess puzzles, you're looking at the position. Look, just as if you're playing an actual game. And you're looking at this position. All right, so what we notice is we can take that bishop, but we always want to think about what happens if we take the bishop. Well, if we take the bishop, obviously he's either going to take back with the rook or he's going to take back with the queen. Most likely with the rook because the queen is very active right here. And even though she's a little bit vulnerable, still she's active. And so we got to think about what would happen if we took that. And if we decided to ignore it and it takes, well, we can always just take back with our pawn, right? So then we can think about another move, like another idea, knights to e5, hitting this knight right here. He might, but what happens if we do that? He could take back. If he takes back, we have the option of taking back with our pawn on d4, our bishop on e5. Most likely the pawn on e4 because it would force a tempo, or at least give us a tempo by forcing the knight away. Of course, then you have to ask the question: what do I do after that? Like, what happens after I get a pawn on e5? What do I do then? Like, how does that improve my position? These are things we're trying to think about as we're doing chess puzzles. So I'm going to look at this position here, and I'm thinking right now, in my mind right now, I'm thinking I want to go rook to c1 and hit this queen because when I hit the queen here, you can't take back right here, obviously, because you're going to lose your queen. So you're forced to move your queen out of the way. And once he moves his queen, where's he going to move his queen? He could move his queen right here, I guess. I mean, there's options to go out this way, but it makes the queen even more vulnerable and actually much less active right there. So it'd probably be better to move the queen back like somewhere over here. He could also go queen to e4 if he wants to. There is the option of queen to g6. So these are options. These are places you can go after I move rook to c1. But the point is, after I move rook to c1, it does force this queen to move. And now I'm looking right here, and I'm basically pinning that bishop to his hanging rook right there. And that's a big problem for black because that would lead to checkmate. Um, so that's what I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking right now I want to go rook to c1. So we're going to try and play rook to c1 and see if that's the move. Yep, and that was the move. And so he basically decides, well, I guess there's nothing left for me to do. He just goes ahead and takes. Now the thing here is we have to think about, because this is the next move of the position, if we take the queen, our rook is hanging. You know, so we would then lose our rook. However, we also get the bishop. So sometimes chess puzzles have different focuses. Some of them are focused on checkmate. Some of them are focused on just getting a better position. And a lot of times it's on winning material. So in this position, if I take here, he will take back right here. But then once he takes back there, we take the bishop. And that would leave us with let's see here, a bishop, a knight, and a queen versus a knight, two knights, and a rook, and then one, two, three, six pawns for each. So, would that be better material-wise for us? I think it would because we win a queen. Obviously, we give up a rook, but we win a queen. So, and there we go. So there is, we solved that puzzle right there. So again, once again, going back here, let's just go to the analysis board here, and we're going to ignore the engine. So we found the right move. The right move was to go, yeah. So once he went here, so you see the bar goes right here because this is a bad move for black and is considered a blunder in the game. So that's the whole point about chess puzzles is. Typically, the setup is your opponent just made a mistake, and your goal is to try to find the mistake. And so we found the actual mistake, which was to go queen to c1. And once he takes, we take back here, and now we're just up 4 points of material. And he's got a rook, but he doesn't have a queen anymore, and that's not going to be good for him in this game, especially because I have a queen and a bishop. He's only got two knights. Knights are not long-range pieces. That's why typically, it always depends. This is where the nuances come into chess. You kind of want to try and use the knights in the middle games, but be ready to give them up in the end games when the boards start to clear up a little bit more, because the bishops are much longer range pieces, can do a lot more, just things like that. But anyways, so cool. We got that one. And I don't know, maybe we can save that, and we can just use that later on. Let's save it to puzzles, and so we'll save it to puzzles. And these are kind of cool things. I like to use the puzzles to teach chess. Again, when you play puzzles, what puzzles are teaching you to do in chess is to look for tactics, like we just found right there. It's teaching you to examine, analyze your position, and find the right moves to win the game or to solve a puzzle. And so when you actually play chess, it teaches you how to. Right now, I'm already looking at checkmate. By the way, I'm doing two things at the same time, but I'll show you in a moment. But it teaches you how to do this when you're actually playing chess. So it's teaching you how to find tactics in actual games. It's also teaching you how to calculate. So you saw in our last puzzle, we were calculating. We were like thinking about, okay, we examined our position. We saw what we had going on, a couple of different things, couple different ideas, and then we looked at a tactic that we knew if I make this move, this is what's going to happen, or this is the likely scenario, or whatever. So that's what tactics do, and calculating does. Playing chess is about calculating. All right. So, anyways, going back to this puzzle now. So when we look at this puzzle, we got mate in one. At least I think we have mate in one here. So I'll show you in a moment. But first, again, we want to look at our position. Our opponent has a couple pawns pushed forward here. This pawn's probably the weakest. I mean, that's pretty easy to take, and it's actually tempting, right? Like, oh, that's a free pawn right there. I can just take that, right? There's actually a better move that's actually going to win you the game. And so, but the thing is, you look at this pawn here. This knight's not in a really good spot, but at the same time, the knight's protected by the pawn. However, once again, it's not too difficult to hit the pawn, and part of the puzzle too is to try and distract you. It's trying to distract you with a different move to see if you actually see it, what the actual best move is. Because there's moves that, like, this isn't a terrible move. You win a piece. You just win a pawn for nothing, and then now the knight has to move. So you win a pawn, and you also gain some tempo. But there's a good move, and then there's the best move, and you always want to try and find the best move. And that's the hardest one to find usually. I mean, it depends on the position, obviously. But here, once again, now we have an opponent here with a bishop. The bishop's actually hanging, by the way. And this is, again, another distraction. Even more juicy than a free pawn is a completely free bishop. That's worth more points. A bishop is far more valuable than a pawn is. And so we can just win a bishop right now, immediately, if we want to. Probably, the biggest thing we would want to look out for is the two rooks. But at the same time, the rooks aren't very active right here. They're not in a place where black should want them to be. They're kind of blocked by these pawns here. Can't really move a whole lot. And so that's black's just in a completely... There really isn't much of an advantage for black, because even though, again, looking back at this bishop, the bishop's hanging, and we can grab the bishop if we want to, but that's not the winning move. But the bishop is blocked. Can't really see much here. And even if the pawn moves, what's it looking at? There's just nothing there. There's nothing there for it to look at. It's a really bad position for black. But I think the winning move here is going to be bishop to c6 checkmate, because the king can't move here. The king can't move anywhere there. That is actually checkmate. So that's what I saw pretty quickly. But as you play and you do these puzzles, you start to see these more easily. The more and more you do it. And the puzzles start out pretty easy for you. My puzzle rating is at 1900. You usually typically start out in the 500 ranges and stuff. All right, so in this position, this is a pretty standard position you find yourself in chess if you're playing it right. All right, so what we notice here in this position, what we want to notice, okay, we saw that our opponent just made move bishop to b4. This is a pin on our king. Or on our knight, anyway. I like to call these hard pins versus soft pins. A hard pin is a pin where the piece is pinned to the king, and it is illegal for the piece to move. That's a hard pin. A soft pin is like if it was pinned to the queen. I mean, that's still a strong pin, because you don't want to, but you can still move the piece, but you'll lose your queen, so you don't want to lose your queen. All right, so this is what we call a soft pin, a hard pin, what I like to call a hard pin anyway. Because now it is illegal for the knight to move. It is pinned to the king. Now this is a dangerous scenario we have here, because what we have is two pieces attacking this knight which cannot move. So if we look at this, if we think about what we can do here. So basically, probably what happened in this position. This is probably from an actual game. Black had this knight here. On f6, moved to f6, and white decided not to defend the pawn, or either that, or it looks like white had a pawn right here, captured black's pawn right here. Black can't take back because it's defended, and so what black did was he took advantage of probably a pawn that was not guarded right here, and took on e4, which would typically have been a mistake for white. You lose a pawn that early in the game. So he went knight to e4, knight captures on e4, and white's response is probably to go to b3, knight to b3, to then attack the knight right here. And black could have done a couple things. He could have traded off the knights. That's a perfectly valid move. But he decides instead to play bishop to b4, and that pins the knight right here, so he cannot capture the black's knight. All right, so now when we look at this position, we have to think about, when we consider all this stuff, what we want to think about is, okay, what is black's strength? Black's strength is obviously the pin, and he's also got double attacks on this knight here. So if I had played a silly move like, I don't know, bishop to, I mean, it's not a silly move, I guess, but if I played this, he could then capture with this knight here, and this forces this. But once you do that, then the bishop captures back, and now it's a fork on the king and the rook, and you lose a rook. That's why this is a dangerous situation. I found myself in a position like this, and I found the only way out was a queen move. So what I'm looking at right now is, so once again, we look at this and we think, this knight, right now, the strength that we have, at least in this game. So, get ahead of myself. Well, there's a couple things we can do here. So we can either castle. When we castle, we remove the pin. He can just go ahead and capture anyway, and then takes, and we don't want that to happen, of course. So once he castles and he takes right here, that's going to be the problem for us in this position, because that's actually not going to be If we castled, the problem we're going to face is he'll probably just take with this, and then we take back right here, and then he takes, and we're going to be down material there, and then we're forced to move our rook because he gains a tempo because now he's hitting our rook. And so we don't really want that to happen. We don't want that to be like that. We don't like that idea. So the idea I'm looking at right now is I'm looking at queen to d5. Reason why queen to d5 I think is a very strong move is for two reasons. One, you're hitting the hanging knight, but you're also threatening checkmate in one with the bishop right here. So, but what we have to think about though is what's going to be black's response to this kind of move. If we go queen to d5, he can just go ahead and take that. Now he's hitting our queen, which is going to force. Oh, no, actually, it's not going to force. Actually, then we can just go for checkmate right there. So that would actually, if we go queen to d5, now that we're thinking about this, he might have to just take with this and take back right there, and he's going to have to move his knight. Probably something, I don't even know. I guess you're gonna have to castle. I think that's going to be the strongest move here. So if the idea here is we want to hit the hanging knight. This is the big weakness for black right now in this position. We want to hit the hanging knight. So we're gonna once we hit the hanging knight, I mean that's what queen d5 is gonna do. Is threatening mate in one, so that even this doesn't save the game for black because we can take back right there. And if he takes right here, then we just go for checkmate right there. So the best move for black in this position, when you think about it, okay, so when you're going to make a move like this, when we go here, for instance, and he goes for that, and he takes right there. So you see what he does? There's only two options for black. You got to think about what black's going to do. He's going to realize, oh snap, I'm in trouble here. Best move I think would have been a castle, but he's ultimately going to lose a knight. You see how that works? So let's go into the analysis board here and look at this. So in this situation here, you see black makes this move, and you see that's a blunder. It's a big bag blunder, and it's up to you to find the winning move. And of course, the winning move, or that exploits this blunder, was queen to d5, because queen to d5 threatens mate in one, and it's hitting this knight, which is pretty much going to fall. You're going to lose the knight no matter what. So black tries to gain some kind of advantage. And you can't take that pawn and hit the queen because you think you're winning tempo, but you're actually going to get checkmated in one. So black is forced to give up the knight in order to defend and stop a checkmate. You could also castle if you wanted to. That's an option, but you're still going to lose the knight. And then I can eventually just go right here and threaten a mate in one once again. And so there you go. So that's again another cool puzzle that we can save and we can use for later on. So all right, we're gonna press forward here with our puzzles. So all right, let's look back. I don't know what he just captured right there, by the way. Let's go back here. He captured a knight. All right, so in this position here, let's look at this. We've castled. We've most likely had this bishop back here at one point, and it's no longer there. Now he's captured this knight. Now that's, you look at that and you go, oh man, I lost my knight. But it's not actually a terrible idea, because now this actually creates a problem for white in this position, because white's bishop now is actually pinned to his queen. And now you can't move the bishop, because if you move the bishop, you lose the queen. So it's actually not a great move for white. However, that doesn't mean we won the game. So now we got to think about what is going to be the better, like the move for us that's going to win us the game. So right now, I'm looking at right here. What I'm thinking about is white's king actually looks pretty vulnerable right now, even though he's in a castle, because I have three long-range pieces that are big threats to white here. Again, I got the rook right here looking down on the e-file. I got a bishop looking straight down at the king. He's pinning this pawn, by the way, and so that's actually going to be something we can take advantage of. And already I'm seeing the move. I also got a queen looking right at the same piece that the bishop is on f2. And so the move here that we want to make, obviously you can't take the knight. The knight's guarded by the rook. And so that's not going to be an option. And once again, what these chess puzzles like to do is they like to fool you, try to trick you. Because look at that, just pawn structure here is just completely hanging. Maybe we can get a promotion, right? We can try to go for that. We can just completely obliterate this pawn structure here if we want to. But that's just going to waste us a lot of time, and it's going to allow white to improve his position, which is very weak right now. See, sometimes a castle king isn't always the strongest. My king's actually better right now. He's got more space to move. if he's in trouble. His king really doesn't. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look for the checkmate. Now, how do we get the checkmate? Again, visualize, calculate, think about these moves. And what the point here of this puzzle is, actually, I think this is the right idea, is what we're going to do, we're going to take advantage of the fact that we have two pieces hitting this, which means really only the rook can capture back once we go for a check with either the bishop or the queen. Now, which piece should you actually use to go to capture that pawn? Well, you might think, well, the bishop, because the bishop's the weaker piece. You know, it's only worth 3 points. The queen is worth 9 points. It's your most valuable piece. But it's only true in some situations. Again, remember what I said. It's like what I said. Chess has so many principles to it. They're all nuanced as well. And so, I'm looking at a couple of different. My mind's going through a couple of different calculations as well. One's just better than the other one. But so every piece is worth. The way I put it is, every piece is worth the position that it's in. You know. Sometimes bishops are actually better than queens. Very rarely, but sometimes they are. Sometimes a bishop is more valuable than a queen is. And even a pawn sometimes is more valuable than a queen if it wins you the game. So what I'm looking at right here is actually to sacrifice my queen. The king won't be able to take back, which means the rook has to take that piece back. And once the rook takes the piece back, we can play rook to e1, and that's checkmate. Why is that checkmate? Because the rook here is now pinned because of the bishop, and nothing can save the king now. So it's actually going to be queen sacrificed right here. And then we play this, and there's checkmate. Once again, you look at the board right here. You think, well, why can't the rook go back? Because the rook is pinned by the bishop. Again, a hard pin. He cannot move. And so there's nothing, the king can't escape anywhere. That's checkmate. So there we go with that one. And so once we look at this again, this is going to be a good one to save, by the way. I'm going to save this one for sure, because this is a nice simple puzzle to teach beginners like when to even sacrifice something like your queen. And so and yeah, see that right there, blunder, big bad blunder right there from white. Not a great move at all, because it loses you the game. Boom, and then boom. All right, so the other line, by the way, I was thinking about was, if I did capture with the bishop, I could take back with a rook, and then I could take right here, and then, but then there's just, he's going to slide that rook back, and if I go back right here, he can just take right there, and that's still checkmate, but it's not, it's a little bit of a more convoluted checkmate, you know, I think. Interesting. There's other options here. All right. So like again, so I don't know if this is actually going to work, but if we go for that right there, the king can't capture, so the rook has to capture, and we go check right here. It's interesting that the line that I'm thinking about is not even in here at all. So it's probably not going to be a good one. So we're not even going to go for it. So all right. So there you go with that puzzle. Let's see if we can knock out one more here. Oops. One more puzzle. All right. So in this puzzle here, we have a really bad position. Like, it's not really looking good for us right now because we don't have a queen and our opponent has a queen. However, that does not mean the game is lost. And in fact, I think our position is actually much better here, even though our opponent still has a queen and all we have is a bishop and a rook. All right, so now in this puzzle, we're hit with a check by the queen. Now, what do we do at this point in the game? We can move our king to 3 legal squares. We can move our king here, we can move him here, and we can move him here. Now, in this position, when white, I've been in these positions before, white's really struggling to find something, and typically what white will do, if its position's as open as it is right now, he will just try to check you constantly. And the reason why your opponent's going to do that is because he's trying to buy time. He's hoping he can just check you and so much that you make a big mistake and he can exploit it. So he's going to try to annoy you with checks. So if I move here, he's going to do something like, I don't know. No, we can't do that. Sorry. If I move here, let's see. What check? It's really not a whole lot, to be honest with you. It's actually not a lot he can do there. But is that the best option for us? That's like that. Those are the things we want to ask, obviously. And if we go here, he can, kind of just keep doing this stuff, and now we really can't. I guess we can go here, I guess, and then what, and that's actually going to lose us a rook, which is going to be really important to us to win the game. So so obviously when we go for check, when he checks us, this would be a blunder because then he's going to go for check right here, and I guess if we go right, we could go right here, but then once again, he can just kind of let's see here. I'm trying to think of other options here. I guess not a whole lot for white here actually, but either way, let's just assume he has a little more space here. The idea is that if we go out here, we're just kind of keeping our king exposed to his queen's constant checks, and we want to not do that because we want to checkmate him. And so I think the better option for us is to go h4, king to h4. That gets our king safe. There's no checks. The king can't move up here. Queen can't capture the bishop because you lose the queen, and it's still going to be mate, unless you move like right here, I guess, but then you lose the pawn, and now it's just mate. So I think the better option is to go to h4. Okay, that's not the better option. All right, so we can go something like, we can maybe go f5. I don't think there's any checks right here. So maybe h5. Okay, so he goes back here. Now the reason why he goes back to c1 is because the bishop right here on f3 is actually preventing the king from moving anywhere beyond the back ranks here, which means if I go here rook to d1, that's going to be checkmate. So he goes back here to prevent that from happening. However, this is actually not going to be good for white because I can still play rook right here and check because the only legal move is to recapture and I take back the queen. And so now all of a sudden we're winning. We're winning the game all of a sudden. Now what white's going to do at this point is he goes, all right, I'll lose my queen. I'm going to sacrifice my queen and just see if I can get a promotion. So what we can do is we capture. But if we capture right here, he's going to capture back, and now he's actually pretty close to the promotion square. So we have to think about what are we going to do here to respond to this. So again, if we capture, he's going to capture back. If we go right here, he's going to go right there, and he's going to go right there, and we can stop that. So we'll just recapture right there. Then we have to think about what we're going to do next. But I think the best move is to recapture. Oh, look at that. He actually goes for that. That's actually not a great move at all because I can just recapture right there, and now white's just lost the game completely. It's a totally lost position. There's no way to win this at this point in the game. So there's a couple puzzles. Play some puzzles. Like if you want to get better at chess, play puzzles. Puzzles are really great. I started playing them a long time ago. And I wasn't even playing them just to get better at chess. It was relaxing. I enjoyed it. But it actually helped. I didn't realize it was actually helping me get better at playing chess when I actually would play. So just a couple puzzles. Maybe I'll do some more later on. I just thought people, anybody who might be interested in learning chess would enjoy some of these. All right, I gotta go. I will talk to you all later.